Fantasy Managers, hello and welcome back to the Game Week 23 preview show brought to you by FPL Addicts and powered by Esports Live and also sponsored by Bonus Bank. And a huge thank you to Bonus Bank for being our sponsor and for supporting our community this season. Make sure you're checking them out in the details below in the caption so that you can find out how to take advantage of Bookies promotions. It's free to set up, but you can also receive 25% off your first premium month with our discount code, which is down in the description as well. And whether you're listening along or watching, if you're enjoying the content, make sure you give our video some love with a like, hit the subscribe button and turn the notification bell on as well so that you never miss an upload. It looks quite barren and derelict at the minute, but I promise we do have more people coming on just shortly. It's just me and the main man, Ollie, to start with here though. So we will get right into it, Ollie. But firstly, mate, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm all right, mate. I had a good week in FPL. A bit annoyed with the captain shout that wasn't really. If I had a captain, maybe Fernandez, I'd have been absolutely on fire. But still a decent week. Like we say, we've got Reedy and the Guru joining a little bit later. They've got, I think, yellow flags on them. I don't know what injury they've got. Maybe we can make something up just for a bit of comedy value. But I don't know why. Well, I think Reedy's actually about to join us now, so it won't just be us two. Reedy is here, so it's not just the two of us. Reedy's got the yellow flag removed. But yeah, I'm good, mate. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you, mate. And Reedy, how are you doing? Joining us all the way from England, as you always do. Fairly early in the morning, not too early for you though, I'm sure. But how are you doing?
Thank you very much, Elliot. Yeah, it's 10:30 or just gone 10:30 here, so it's not too early. I've definitely done some earlier podcasts, that's for sure, with you boys and the time difference. But I'm doing well. You boys are looking good too. I see Ollie's looks like he's got a nice tan there, and yourself, Elliot, you probably could do with getting out in the sun a bit more, mate. But yes, good boys. What about yourself? It's good to be back on the pod, as I say. So.
Yeah, and as Quentin's happy that you're joining us as well, the Hitman with the two fire emojis, as everyone knows you now by your alias, the Hitman. But I was saying that you were going to join us a little bit later. We have the fourth member of the podcast right here, right now as well. The Guru, the FPL Addicts Guru, Matty Day himself, has joined us as well. So Matt, how are you doing, mate?
Yeah, good. Thanks, lads. It's good to see you all, and looking forward to discussing this game week. It's going to be massive. I've just seen the double game week's been announced, so looking forward to the Watford double game week. So looking forward to discussing that and discussing the game week that we've just seen as well.
Well, I'll quickly add that into the discussion part of the podcast today. It's new news to me, so the Guru is going to be bringing you an exclusive live on the podcast today. But Guru, I want to go to you first as we review the results from Game Week 22, because I'm fairly certain of which game you're going to choose. But which game brought you the most joy this week?
It's got to be that one at the top. Obviously, the Leicester Spurs game, just unbelievable stuff. I still can't believe it now. Just played really well. That was the best game I've seen Harry Kane play all season by a long way. On another day, could have had a lot more than the 11 points he got. He was just unbelievable. And it was a good Spurs performance. Obviously, we did go 2-1 down, but yeah, that ending was just phenomenal, unbelievable stuff. And I think I was reading a stat. It's the only team in history to be losing at that late in a game and still winning the Premier League. So they broke the Man City record, which I'm assuming was against Man United. So I thought the game was gone. Bergwijn scored, and I thought it was just the draw, and then they didn't give up and got the win. So huge season defining moment, I think.
Yeah, that was the Aguero one they broke. The Aguero, sorry, Chris, that was the Aguero one. Was the next? There was the second one. Obviously, the famous one against QPR was the
Which
next
was
best.
virtually against Man United, wasn't it? At the end of the day, when you think about it.
The absolute scenes there. It was when there was they were playing Sunderland, I think United, weren't they? And they just heard the noise in the crowd. Everyone was looking around. It was crazy scenes. But I just wanted to ask you there, Matt. Obviously, as a big Spurs fan, and I'm sure you were absolutely on cloud nine when you seen that goal go in to make it 3-2. I just think what I haven't seen the highlights, or I didn't watch the game at the time, but what actually happened with the clock going over the 90? I think it was +5 was added, and then it ended up going over that. We'll go on to very quickly. We'll go on to whoever played the pass to give it away needs dropping. So we'll go on to that in a sec. But what kind of happened with that situation? Why did the clock go over?
Yeah, look, they gave 5 minutes of stoppage time. Bergwijn's first goal was still within the 95. And then I guess the celebrations, well, they didn't really celebrate the first goal. So there was still about 15 seconds anyway. And the clock runs, it's still a minimum of 5 minutes, as they say. I think in that time there was a few free kicks. There was the piece of play where Bergwijn went down and Sanoichku sort of laughed in his face and told him to get up. But I think it was just more of a case that there was still 15 seconds before the 5 minutes. The clock obviously just ran and they just allowed the time to go on, because there was still time when Bergwijn scored. I think it was 94 and 47 or something like that. So
I think when I seen the highlight, it was quite close to the 5. And I was kind of thinking, as soon as Leicester kicked off, if you've just conceded that late, you should be playing for that draw. You shouldn't risk anything. They kind of played forward rather than going back or side. And as we said, I don't know who gave that ball away. I don't know if it was Maddison or whoever it was, but to give that ball away where they did obviously cost them the game.
100%. And it was just good to see the team not give up and actually go for that winning goal. And Højbjerg intercepted it straight to Kane. And, that was a Harry Kane that we all know of last season with that ball through. And, FPL
normally it's Son getting on the end of those ones, isn't it?
Yeah, someone had a field day, I think, in that game with the amount of chances Spurs had. But I think, Harry Kane owners with that pass at the end will be, over the moon to get that extra assist from him. So incredible stuff, incredible game. And, I'll be absolutely buzzing if we can make this top 4, but a long way to go, and we've got a tough game this week.
Spurs for top 4 looks pretty on at the minute. Conte still undefeated in the Premier League with Spurs as well, so it's definitely one to watch. My prediction live on air will say you're going to finish on top of Man United and you will get top 4 this season, Guru. I think you're going to do it. You've got a lot of games in hand as well, so I'm back in the mighty Spurs for the 4th place in the Premier League this season. But we'll move on. Reedy, I know there was another good game. Liverpool routine win against Brentford 3-0. So you must have been delighted with that result.
Yeah. Pretty straightforward, pretty easy win for us type of thing. And we've obviously got no Salah, no Mane, Keita's there, although he's not in the sort of playing as much as Mane and Salah. But did the job, got the job done. 3-0 win. And what more can I say? I don't know. Are you asking me, is that the game that I'd pick, or you kind of like just
You're welcome to pick another game.
We've got pick another game. I think the game of the round, we all know it, is West Ham Leeds, don't we? Jack Harrison, where's he been? I mean, a performance, if you can put a performance in like that every week, he's really going to be someone to consider in FPL managers. But West Ham looking out of sorts defensively, and they've been really strong, especially at home this season. And Jarrod Bowen could have equalised right near the end, and it wasn't to be. So well done, Leeds, absolutely fantastic. And do you know what, as well, I think we've all mentioned this season about Brentford and how much they're going to struggle in the Premier League and all the rest of it, and how they've not really got a philosophy. There's that thing of coming into the Prem, getting promoted, doing really well in your first season, and then kind of falling off. Leeds, I've always said this, have got a philosophy in place. They've got something where they play a certain style. They don't change that. Bielsa's really good at it, and fair play to them. Brilliant win for them. So
works out some of the time, doesn't work out when they get battered at Old Trafford, and the routine thrashings that they get every single season. But as Reedy said there, they've got the way they play. Bielsa doesn't like to change it no matter the opposition, which, fair play. You've got to be in it to win it each and every game, and he likes to try and play on the front foot. So he's doing his job, and he's managed to get Leeds 3 points, which probably, gives him that little bit more breathing space between the bottom four at the minute and sort of breaks them away at the minute. And looks like they probably will be playing Premier League football next season, considering how bad the rest of the bottom four teams are compared to Leeds at the minute. But Ollie, the third and final game of the round, I'll let you pick. What was your choice?
Well, I'm actually gonna talk about that bottom four and the huge relegation 6-pointer involving your Newcastle, Elliot. Let's be honest, like I watched the Rovers Cardiff game, which was the early kickoff, and struggled to get to sleep after that. We won the game, so I was obviously buzzing with that, and I couldn't get to sleep, so I turned my TV back on, and the first thing I saw was João Pedro running back to the middle after scoring the equaliser. I was gutted for you, Elliot, because I do want Newcastle to stay up, particularly if we keep doing well and we go up. But, obviously Newcastle looked the goods. Maximan with an unreal goal. Let's be honest, he's the only fighting hope that Newcastle have got now. Well, alongside the owners, of course. But that was a masterful goal. Great to watch. He's so fleet-footed, so agile, and he just took that one away. And you just thought Newcastle might get themselves a massive 3 points. Not quite. João Pedro had other ideas. Wonderful header, great cross from Menu from the right, and that was that really. I think both sides have a chance of staying up. Obviously, Norwich have now thrown their hat into the ring with a win against Everton, but it's going to be a tough one, isn't it? There's still a lot to play for the rest of the season, but it's 2 points dropped for Newcastle rather than 1 point gained, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. As home fixture to concede that late on. It just doesn't look like Newcastle can hold a 1-goal lead this season at all. So it's just treading on water with that 1 goal. That futile sort of lead that they have. But a point apiece. If you can't win, don't lose at the end of the day. But that was really a fixture which both teams needed to win, to be honest. But Watford have got the pleasure of playing Norwich this game week, and if they've got a double, they've got Burnley coming up at some point as well, I think, as well. So that might even be their double fixture. If Burnley ever play football again this season, we're not too sure if that's going to be happening with the amount of games they've had postponed. But we'll move on now away from game week 22's results, and we'll move on to the mini leagues and what they're looking like after game week 22. So I'll bring up on screen now the current standings of the paid FPL Addicts mini league, and as you can see on top there, no surprise, Donald Breslin still sits at the top, and he is also the manager of the week this week as well. So he puts himself in the FPL Addicts history books for the 2021 and 2022 season with 100 points overall. So he did take a 4-point hit this week, unfortunately, but he gets himself that 20 Aussie dollars prize money as well, which is obviously the reason that he's in the league. Is here to win the money and rinse everyone else for all of their economic value and stuff. So he's done really well this week. 100 points. He's tonned up overall net after his 4-point hit as well. Jordy Wilson's worked his way up to second. He's fair way away from Donald Breslin at the top of the league. If you see, there's a couple points between them. They're 60 odd or something like that, so they're still definitely fighting against each other, but it's looking like Donald Breslin's breaking away a little bit now, especially with a massive score last week. But Jordy Wilson with 96 points himself, which meant that Nathan Burgess dropped down to third place because he only got 64 points, which was unlucky from him this week, but he's been up there fighting, so we know that he's definitely not going to be letting his foot off the gas, and he's going to still be going. But Guru, it looks like it's becoming a little bit of a one-horse race in this league. Donald Breslin's looking quite strong, and he's looking all the parts at the minute, isn't he?
Oh, some unbelievable stuff from Donal. He's this season's sort of Tom Stones in terms of dominating the league, and he's got it spot on. I thought I was going to be in for the running for manager of the week this week, and and I looked, and there was just some scores that were just even bigger than mine, and Donal's was one of them, and phenomenal stuff by him. Big score, 87th in the world right now, 87th in the world. So phenomenal stuff from Donal. So congrats.
He's doing absolutely crazy at the minute, and it's no surprise that he is also top of the FPL Addicts free mini league as well. He's dethroned FPL Planner. He's sort of, he's not come from nowhere, Donal, but he's definitely risen his way to the top in the past couple of game weeks. So FPL Planner has dropped down into second place, and then Kotu is sitting there in third as well, with Billy just 3 points off the pace of him in 4th place there. But as you can see, the paid mini league's competitive, but the free mini league is even more competitive as well. In terms of the women's mini league, Thashi still sits at the top. They're sort of, hitting around the 1,300 marks, nearly the 1,400 marks in this women's mini league now to be top of the league. Karen Spence has dropped to 2nd. She's been so brilliant this season, so consistent and everything. So there's probably no doubt that she'll be back up there or staying up there for this season. And then Leanne, who we haven't really heard too much about recently. She's risen her way up the women's mini league. We've been watching it, and she's managed to find herself into 3rd place. So fair play to all the people in the women's mini league, and they're doing brilliantly as well, just as competitive as the 2 other leagues. And there's still so many people in those mini leagues who should have been in the paid one, and they would have earned themselves a lot of money this season. In terms of the head-to-head mini, the bonus bank head-to-head mini, Donnell Breslin, no surprise, sits top of that one as well. He's taken all the spoils at the minute. He's top of 3 out of the 4 mini leagues, 3 of which he can actually enter into. So he's doing really well for himself. He's top of each and every one of them. He's having an unreal season. Tom Stones, who the guru mentioned just a little bit ago, who was sort of the Donnell Breslin of last season, we can call him now. He's no longer the Tom Stones that we knew, but he's sitting 2nd for this one, 46 points, which is still 8 points behind Donnell. So he's doing really well for himself, with Mark Sargent sitting there in 3rd as well. I've managed to find my way up to 7th, lads, and none of you are still sort of close-ish. Ollie's 2 points behind me, but I'm looking forwards. I'm not looking backwards. So I'm not keeping up with that one too much.
Mate, you're blind. I'm 4 off you. You're a better FPL manager than a mathematician.
4, even better. Even better.
Go to Specsavers, pal. I mean, it's the only league you're above me anyway. So, and I'll if this is the only one, then I'll take that.
We'll see what happens at the end of the season.
Well said, Ollie. Well said, mate. Listen, we're breathing down his neck. You can feel the pressure, just like Newcastle can by panic buying Chris Wood. We'll be above him at some point. Don't you worry.
Well, you've got the classic mini, which you can take over. You're overtaking me in that one, so you're doing better than me in the one that really matters. But I can have a small victory knowing that I'm 4 points ahead of Ollie still. After I don't really check that league, to be honest. Don't really check who I'm playing. Just show up every week and win, lads. So that's all you got to do for that one. And I'm doing it well this season. So some would say match fixing. I would just say just pure class from me, to be honest. But,
listen, you're gonna run out of money sooner or later, Elliot, and these backhanders aren't gonna be anymore. So listen, me and Ollie, we know what's going on. And look at Guru sat there smug. Tottenham have won this week. Guru's obviously got the big score. Tell you, it's all happening for him. It's all happening.
You got to take it. I got to take it because it's gonna. I'm preparing for the. I'm going to take the highs because this week we've got Chelsea. Spurs have got Chelsea this week, which is a massive bogey team for us. So look, I'm living it up with the FPL score. The Spurs win. Let's see how this week goes.
Do you know what though? If there's a week to play Chelsea, it's now. When you see Harry Kane play the way that he did against Leicester, especially without the likes of Son, you want to play Chelsea now because I don't think they've kept a clean sheet in about 9 games. Is it something like that? I can't remember. So wouldn't surprise me if Tottenham went and won that one. So you're going into it on a high, mate, off the back of that Leicester game. So I wouldn't worry about it too much, mate. You've got Conte now,
Yeah, we'll see. It's still Spurs, mate. It's still Spurs.
Conte, I'd love to get one up against his former club. Obviously, he won a lot more with Chelsea than he probably will with Spurs, but we won't obviously talk about that one today, as the guru seems to be quite happy tonight. But as Ollie's been saying, I'm still below him in the normal league, the one that matters to him the most. But I'm also breathing down his neck for that one, so I'm sort of experiencing what you're experiencing in the other league.
Really?
It's absolutely fine. It's absolutely fine. 40 odd points behind you. That was like 100 a week ago, mate. So, you're getting scared now. Your voice is going all high pitched and everything. But in terms of what happened in game week 22 for myself, I had a little bit of a shocker with my one transfer that I did bring in was James Maddison. I was about to go to bed on the night before the deadline hit. And 5 minutes later, I get a message from the guru on my phone and he goes, "That's why you don't play your free hit in this game week." Because I was talking to him, I was like, "Do I play my free hit? Do I not?" And he goes, Leicester have their game postponed against, it was Burnley, wasn't it? That game was obviously postponed because Burnley just don't want to play football these days. They've lost Chris Wood. They've got no goals in them now. We've just taken everything that we possibly can. So that was unlucky. A man that I would have gone with instead of Maddison would have been Bruno Fernandes, which is a real shame because if I just waited 5 extra minutes, he would have definitely been in my team because he was the second in line to replace the place in my team. But it is what it is. You take the highs with the lows in FPL, and it's such a weird season where games are postponed on the day. It's difficult for us Australian managers wanting to go to sleep, but not sure if games are going to be postponed while we're asleep in the middle of the night. So really, Reedy should be doing better than us this season, is what I'm saying. He should be top of the league. He should be doing better.
Listen. Come on, I've got the guru here. Listen. Don't forget, this guy's a legend.
He doesn't sleep. That's why
he does not exactly that. He does not sleep. This guy is up 24/7, lives and breathes FPL. It's in his veins.
I was up at deadline.
There we go. Exactly. This guy is on Twitter. He's on all these sort of like social media platforms and tries to find out the info. So listen, if anything, he probably knows more than me at times. But as for Ollie, I just want to give Ollie a shout out that from last season, I think a lot of us were living rent free in his head. And I think this season, it's almost like he's got like a mental block now. He knows too well. And he kind of just gets that fishing rod out sometimes and sees what he can catch with us. But, shout out to you, Ollie, mate. I just want to say, well done there. You've gone back above me in that league. But, yeah, Elliot, listen, you need to come back a better FPL manager next week, mate. It's not good enough, as you know. So that's all I'll say about that, buddy.
I can't argue. It was a shocking week for me after, my manager of the week, Ollie. So I raise you that one. Where's your manager of the week for the season, Ollie?
Mate, the 1 week that you receive your manager of the week prize, you're off the podcast. So my advice to you, if you want to rise up the league, stop being a regular on this podcast and go away back to Inverloch or go back camping somewhere. You might win a couple more manager of the weeks from there.
Hey, it's money in my back pocket that you don't have, and it's an award that I can have over here, written into the FPL Addicts history books. The first ever paid league, won something this season. So that's more than I think we're going to be able to say for you. But now that I've said that, the manager of the week next week is most likely going to be Ollie because I've jinxed it for myself now. But yeah, that was my week. It was a fairly shocking one for me. Not really much happened. Went with the Ronaldo captaincy, Bowen as my vice. Not really too much to say about it, to be honest, boys. It was just poor, fairly all round from me. But they've been chatting a lot, and he's been chatting a lot on the podcast today. But Reedy, 61 points, a fantastic week from you. Given the circumstances, all the postponements and everything, 10 points above the average. Talk us through your week.
That was all right, mate. It wasn't too bad. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. -4 on that 61. So obviously, instead of that, the 57. But it was okay. I did make 2 transfers. I brought in Jota. I brought in Cucurella. Cucurella had the double game week. So that decision could have been better because I brought Jota in based on the fixture. And if all the talk around, especially the Twitter world and whatnot, Bruno was the pick, and I should have brought him in. So, hindsight's a wonderful thing. But other than that, I had some nice sort of scores around my team. Trent again, Cancelo again, those 2 guys. I remember early in the season we were saying, oh, is it essential to have both of them in? And people were like, it's one or the other. Now you're finding that it's difficult to take either out of your team. And I think we'll see that in a lot of fantasy teams. So, yeah, they got me the points. Cucurella with his double ended up getting me 5. Gallagher came off my bench. I left him on the bench for Martinelli in the hope that Arsenal fixture would go ahead. It wasn't to be, so luckily I did get that. And he came. Bowman was my captain, so that was decent. Bernardo kind of has faded off a little bit over the last sort of 3-4 game weeks, and then Ronaldo and Dennis with the little 2 pointers each. So an okay week for me. I can't complain. I've got like above the average. So we just move on to the next one now. I'm hoping I can kind of, hit the 70s and the 80s, which is, I think, what we kind of want at this stage in the season, mate.
It's a very, very strong team as well, can I just say, for the upcoming set of fixtures. I think, you've really prepared yourself well for this sort of end of the congestion period, sort of going into the more more regular game weeks that we can all hope are in the near future. But as I said, good week from you, Reedy. 57
Cheers,
points after your 4-point hit, which I should have assumed that you took one, to be honest. I don't know why I read your score out without taking any hits. I should have just assumed that you took a -4 or a -8, but I know you too well these days, so I thought maybe just for 1 week he wouldn't take a hit, but he has taken a hit. But 57 is still a brilliant score. And on the topic of brilliant scores, Ollie Walker-Peel, I might be giving you a little bit of crap today. 75 points. You used your free hit this week. What was your sort of thought process behind playing your free hit? Were you worried about postponements, or was it just, you thought there was a couple of double game weeks, so you better get it used?
Well, I had a lot of injuries at the time when I played it. I think most of them had calmed down by the time of the deadline. But I had fixture clashes, double game week, worried about postponements, so it allowed me to be nimble. I thought it was a perfect week to play it. And look, I had a decent score. It could have gone a little bit better had I captained someone else, but I'm not going to complain too much.
Yeah, and as you say, 75 points in a game week like this is going to give you a nice, healthy green arrow. So, you went with De Gea and a fairly strong back three on paper. Unfortunately, only Trent managed to return for you. But Kamara was absolutely brilliant for Watford. Other than for Newcastle's goal, he managed to keep Saint quiet for 89 minutes, and it was just that one little burst that he had, which unfortunately ruined the clean sheet for you there. But in terms of the other picks that you made further up the pitch, Bruno Fernandes and Harry Kane, two very good picks for this week. They both obviously were meant to have, two fixtures this week. Obviously that Spurs one did get postponed, but you still managed to stick with Harry Kane. So you really backed him in this week, even if he was just going to have one fixture, did you?
Well, look, I had him in obviously with the two fixtures, but I thought, maybe the Leicester game, he's usually good against Leicester, so I went with him for that, and obviously he returned. In terms of Bruno, I probably should have captained him, let's be honest, but he was brilliant with the United double. That all made sense. I was pretty strong on keeper Jared Bowen, even with a single game. He was only slated to have one game, but he obviously scored, obviously missed the chance late on, which would have helped. Kamara, again, I was just going off a scout report, and I thought he'd do okay. Obviously, when I had him in the team, they had the two games against Burnley and Newcastle. Obviously, the Burnley one was postponed while I was asleep, so I didn't get a chance to change that, which was frustrating. But I went with him anyway. Not a bad shout, unlucky with a clean sheet, but look, you take the wins with the losses and you move forward. I think overall I've had a decent week. Back to my normal team now this week after playing the free hit with a nice little green arrow to boot just outside the top 300k. So, look, I think it's a good chip that I've played. I'll take the green arrow and I'll move forward.
Yeah, I definitely think it was worthwhile you playing it. 75 points. If you say that you had injuries, it was definitely a week that you could have played it, and obviously you do get that second free hit this season as well, don't you? So it's only one of them gone, and you still get your other one as well. Guru, you had a fantastic week by all means. Even in a fairly standard week, when there's no double games, 89 points is brilliant. You made your one transfer, you didn't take any hits, so you get 89 points overall. Walk us through your team.
Yeah, look, carried by Bruno this week. I did that transfer 2 minutes before deadline, which was 4:28 a.m. Melbourne time in the morning. I was up for it. It had to be. Look, I'm not going to turn around and say it was a complete masterstroke because there was a lot of luck involved with the Fernandes transfer. So what I did was Lucas Moura was going to be my transfer for the double game week, and then I saw Arsenal put through that postponement, and as soon as they did that, I was thinking this game's not going to go ahead. Was never keen on Ronaldo, with his injury news, and I just didn't fancy him playing. And I looked at my side and I thought I've got to get rid of either Salah or Son, and I was 0.1 off Son to Fernandes, so I thought I'm just going to bite the bullet, take up Salah as much as I wanted to keep Salah for, because he's going to be back in a few weeks. I just did it, thinking Bruno would be a good shout. I'd seen a few people on Twitter had done it. And yeah, went for it. I thought, if Ronaldo's not going to play one of the games, you'd expect Bruno to get on the ball a lot more, get a lot more shots off, and it worked against Villa. So really happy with that. Happy with his 2 assists against Brentford. He nearly scored at the end as well in that game and could have had an extra couple of bonus. So really happy with Bruno. Conor Gallagher, who I've kept faith in for a while now, got the goal in the derby. So really happy with that. Bowen as well, Trent. But other than that, the rest of the team's actually quite underwhelming. So I've really been just carried by Bruno there. But yeah, and on my bench, actually, I did have Williams from Norwich, who actually got more points than Rudiger in a double game week. So they're the standouts. But I have to say it's a bit of luck with the Spurs game getting called off or that postponement. But I just thought I'm going to go with my gut, make a snap decision, and literally 2 minutes before deadline put him in, and it's paid off because I've had a bad run the last sort of month. I tried the De Bruyne captain, not long ago against Newcastle, didn't work, and the Bruno one has. So let's see how we go. I'll probably be keeping him now for a while as well. I think Bruno.
Yeah, swings and roundabouts, doesn't it? But obviously, it just shows you how good the captain can be for your team and how important it is to make sure that you do have a good week. Because obviously, myself, captain Ronaldo, and it completely ruined my week. If I had Bruno instead of Maddison and given the armband to him, it would have been a completely different story. But hindsight is a beautiful thing, isn't it? And obviously, that's not how FPL works. So brilliant week from you there, Guru. 89 points, and you still managed to be top out of everyone on the podcast here, and nearly 100 points ahead of me, which has hurt me to say, but I'm making sure that I'm decreasing that gap as much as I can in the upcoming weeks. But they were our scores for game week 22, but it's full steam ahead now onto game week 23, and it's now apparently a double game week, as I'm hearing from the Guru. So it's the Guru exclusive, and we go live now over to Guru headquarters, and he's got some news for us. It is breaking news. Guru, what's the story?
So it looks like we've got the Watford versus Norwich game is obviously on tonight, or for UK, or in the morning for Australian viewers, and it's going to be followed up by Burnley versus Watford as the double game week fixture. So you've got Arsenal, Burnley, Watford, Norwich, and Burnley Watford as those fixtures. So 2 games for Watford, 2 games for Burnley. So
I think did you not mention Burnley 3 times there?
I might have.
They've got that many games to play on. You probably did.
I'm just saying because I swear I heard Burnley 3 times. So Burnley haven't got a triple, have they?
No, sorry. So we've got Arsenal versus Burnley, Burnley versus Watford. So that's Burnley's double, and then Watford's double is Watford Norwich, and then Burnley versus Watford.
That's why you heard it three times. Yeah.
So a double for Burnley and a double for Watford. So looking at that, you'd probably say Watford have the better fixtures, but again, it is Watford. They don't look very good themselves, so it'll be an interesting one. But I think there's still 1 or 2 players that you can kind of have from there, that are standouts. And obviously the likes of Ben Foster. Looks like he's come back into that number 1 spot. He's only, I think, 4 million, so he's going to be a real interesting one. I know a lot of people kept him as their number 2 keeper, so it's it's definitely shaken it up, and it's made it interesting for us all.
It certainly has, and Ben Foster's been sitting on my bench with a red flag for quite some time now, so it might be time for the return of the king, the follower of the podcast. We're led to believe. He's commented a couple of times, we hope, but we never really quite know for sure. But Ben Foster, Dennis. Unfortunately, Sarr's still out injured for Watford, but that's about as much as you'd probably want to go from Watford. Maybe Ollie will be making his a permanent transfer to Kamara this week. Does that sort of tempt you now, Ollie, hearing those 2 fixtures, Burnley and Norwich?
No, I've got 1 free transfer, and I've already made it before that news. Obviously, it was released. It does involve a defender, but it doesn't involve Hassan Kamara, which is frustrating because if I was to bring him in, he might become a bit of a Mark Gahey, Ollie Walker Peel cult hero, but not quite just yet.
So you've alluded to your transfer, mate. So I want to hear what you're doing now with your defence. What's happened this week? Defensive reinforcements for Ollie Walker Peel's fantasy team. What's the move?
Correct. I had about just under 4 million in the bank, so I've decided to splash a little bit of it out. I've got 1 Liverpool fullback in Trent Alexander-Arnold, and I've got his partner in crime in Andy Robertson. He's coming into the team for Antonio Rudiger, so I'm going double Liverpool in defence. Obviously, Chelsea have got a tough fixture against Tottenham. They'll probably still win it, but will Chelsea keep a clean sheet? Who knows? I think Liverpool will pretty easily get the job done this week in their game, and hopefully there's attacking returns for both fullbacks.
Yeah, I think, the days of when you had to have Trent and Robertson, if you go back a couple of seasons where they were both really firing, Trent's been on absolute fire this season and Robertson's gone under the radar a little bit. He's obviously not reaching the heights that Trent is, but, he's obviously going to be a fairly safe pick to go with the amount of attacking football that Liverpool play and the way that those fullbacks play. Reedy is the resident Liverpool fan. What do you sort of make of that transfer that Ollie's made?
I think that's a great move. I'd say I talked him out of bringing in Robertson on his free hit last week. He had Robertson in there. I think I mentioned to kind of maybe take him out. He did have Trent in though, so there was a 2-point difference. I think with Robertson getting more the bonus, but it's been mentioned a few times this season, and I think there's still that thing there of Liverpool fullbacks are always going to go forward and attack. So good move, mate. I hope it pays off for you. Obviously, as the Liverpool fan, I want us to kind of at least be in a title race come the end of the month, or what we're still in January, aren't we? So, yeah, come the end of the month or beginning of February. So, good move, all.
Yeah,
Thank you, mate. Great to get your approval.
Yeah, the human fence, Hitman stamp of approval. Not too many people can say that they've had that with their transfer this week. But Reedy, I'm interested to hear what you're doing now. Obviously, we always ask you every week. You tell us what you're going to do. You absolutely flip and don't do what you're going to do, and you man just take a -8 every single week. But what is your transfer plan for this week? I'll ask you.
All I'm doing, I'm actually rolling over. I'm actually planning to roll over.
No.
We might as well save it.
He won't.
No, but we might as well save this transfer. How I look at it is, might as well save this transfer for after the international break. I've already got Dennis in. I've already got Foster in. There's me double, for me Watford lads. I don't want to really bring a Burnley asset in or player in. There's no one that kind of appeals to me. Chris Wood isn't there anymore.
It's a shame that Chris Wood's gone, isn't it?
That's it. Chris Wood's gone. It only really leaves you,
corner is at the AFCON.
Yeah. Exactly that, yeah. He's still with that. Is it Ivory Coast he plays for? But he's still at AFCON. There's nothing really that appeals. I mean, maybe Pope, but I've got Foster, so I don't need to make that move. So rolling over for me is the option. If there would have been a Villa double game week, I would have been more sort of thingy to do it. I think if anyone's going to bring anyone in this week, it is going to be Rafinha. But I don't want to waste that transfer. I want to keep it. And remember the last international break a while back when I had 2 free transfers, or I had 1, sitting there, and I rolled over to get the 2. I think Ollie done the same, or maybe a couple of you guys did the same. I just feel that's probably the best thing to do, because I think possibly game week 24. I think we might end up having a double game week then anyway. So,
Reedy, if I may say, you rolling over, if I may quote the brilliant Martin Tyler, I swear you'll never see anything like this ever again. So watch it. Drink it.
Yeah, listen, I don't know. What do you want me to say, boys? Oh, I'm bringing Bruno in straight away. It's going to happen. Ronaldo's going out. He's crap. I'm bringing, Ollie Watkins in. There we go, bosh. It's already done, boys. It's signed. So, I don't know. I'm taking a cautious approach. What can I say?
I think it's a fair approach, and it's one that I agree with, because I'm going to be doing the same, because we don't really know when Salah's going to be back, but the one thing that I do know is as soon as he is going to be back, I want him back in my team, because FPL is so much easier when you've got Salah in your team. You don't have to think about who you're captaining for the week. You just manage to stick the armband on him and he gets the goods for you. So I'm quite happy with the way that my team looks. I've got 3 West Ham assets. They do have Man United this week, but I actually quite fancy them, to be honest. I think that Bowen is going to cause Harry Maguire some troubles, and maybe Kufal can manage to get himself an assist, or maybe even a clean sheet, because West Ham are doing fairly decently this season. Of late, they haven't been brilliant. They've lost a couple of games, drawn a couple of games that they probably should have won themselves, but I'm backing them in this week, and I think I'm going to be rolling over as well, because I'm fairly happy with the way that my team looks, and I think Ben Foster will be coming into my starting lineup as well. Because Robert Sanchez has he's got Leicester. I just don't really fancy it there. So I think Foster's going to be the man for this week. And if he doesn't end up playing, he's probably not going to play both the fixtures. So Sanchez will be subbed on anyway. But Guru, what's your move for this week?
My moves this week, it was going to be pending this, any more double game weeks, but I think that Watford game's now ruled out the Aston Villa double game week. So and the Leeds double game week's ruled out. So I think it's probably going to be Cancelo's finally got to come in. I can't believe it's taken me 22 game weeks to get Cancelo in. I wanted him in about 7 weeks ago, but I went Reece James. And I've probably lost about 50 points from not having Cancelo this whole time. So he's going to come in for Rudiger. I was thinking about maybe a -4 and taking out Son. But with this international break and Son actually returning in game week 23, I'm probably going to keep Son and keep him for the game when Spurs play Saints in game week 23. So that's probably all I'm going to do this week.
Yeah, I think that's fair, but I think the more important thing that we're going to bring up is from Ozspike. No way, Chris Britney Spears Reed Rolls' transfer. Hit me, baby, one more time. Obviously, is the reference there. And Ozspike,
I love Ozspike. Brilliant.
Another nickname now, Reedy. You're Chris Britney Spears.
Listen, do you know what? I put a tweet out the other week after the Brighton Palace game, which I watched. I don't know if you boys seen it, but I watched that one, the full 90. Absolutely amazing game. I don't know whether it was the crowd in the stadium, the fans, that made it seem even more hyped up. But I remember put a tweet out there saying I didn't want that game to finish. It was unbelievable. And Ozspike thought I was actually being sarcastic. Yeah, as you know, he goes the matches, he goes the games, and he thought I was being sarcastic. I was like, listen, no, it was an unbelievable game. It was brilliant. So I love Ozspike. Resident Brighton fan, of course, but cheers for that, mate. Britney Spears, I suppose. I hope I don't sort of go the way she goes, but I don't think I've got the figure either. So listen,
she might have an FPL team out there that's doing well within the world. You never know. Can you imagine?
Well, listen, let's not go down that route, boys. It's a dangerous route. So yeah, back to the good stuff. Come on. Let's focus.
We'll chat about we've chatted about our transfers. All that's left now is to talk about the captain picks from us this week. Myself, I'm going to be going with Jota. I think he tore Arsenal to shreds this morning. He's got a fairly nice fixture against Crystal Palace. Liverpool, they seem to have, not been missing Salah and Mane too much while they've been gone, and Jota's been stepping up in place of those two, and he's been doing the goods for them. Fabinho as well has been scoring a fair bit for Liverpool while they've been away, so I'm not really too sure about captaining or bringing in Fabinho, but I think it's going to be Jota for me this week. He's getting the armband, and I've got every single faith in him. Reedy, who are you going with?
Well, captain's armband for me, it's probably going to be Cancelo or Trent. It's one of them two. I'm not quite sure yet. Both got away fixtures. There's, Palace could score, Southampton could score. They're both capable of doing that. But looking at who have kind of got in the team in regards to an attacking point of view, Ronaldo, he's not really doing much at the moment. He's had his little spat the other night after being taken off against Brentford. You know what though? I've just actually realised we've got a double game week, haven't we, boys? So can Dennis finally be the one? I know a lot of FPL managers they got kind of bitten with that one with the Watford game being cancelled. Obviously, the second one, so it wasn't great. But I've got more faith now with Burnley kind of that game being on the 5th of Feb, and then Watford playing tonight. I think it's a really good option. What do you think about that, moving away from the Cancelo and TAA and going to Dennis? Is it time?
I think he'll be one of the most captained this week for sure. Thinking about it, he's going to be quite high up there just because of those two fixtures, I think. And Dennis has been good this season, let's be honest. He's been getting goals, assists for Watford, and they probably would be fairly lower down the league if it wasn't for him. And Norwich and Burnley, besides Newcastle, they're the two teams that you'd want to play in your favoured double game week. If you got asked which two teams do you want to play to have the best double game week that you possibly can, it's probably those two, or Newcastle in there as well. So I think he's going to be a fairly heavily selected captain this week. So I think it's a fairly astute choice, to be honest.
Aye. It's one food for thought, definitely. Now I know that me and you've got Watford players in. I can't remember if yourself, Guru or Ollie. I know you'll probably mention now about your captains and stuff like that. So have you got any Watford players? What's your thoughts? Take it away.
I do now. You've convinced me. I've just on air after seeing the news about the Watford transfer on air. I've just taken a 4-point hit to move from Brozier to Dennis, and I think my captain for this week, I think his name's Dennis. I'll be honest with you. He's got a double game week, 2 very, very tasty fixture on paper. Norwich at home, Burnley away. Look, he's going to score a handful away at Burnley, isn't he? And Norwich at home, despite their win. Look,
I
they're
think
not the greatest side
that's what's
defensively.
tipped it, hasn't it? The fact that it's Burnley has tipped it even more for you, because you want those guys to go down, don't you? You want them to go down. So
badly. But no, I think it's a safe 4-point hit. I think as well, because Brozier, how well he's done. You can't underestimate that. But their run of fixtures: Manchester City, Tottenham, and Manchester United in their next 3. It's not worth holding. So with the double game week, it's a sensible transfer to move from him to Emmanuel Dennis. He's a great player, Emmanuel Dennis, top signing, and I think obviously he's come into the league this season and really shown his class. So I'm going with him with my armband, and hopefully he does something for me.
I think it's a fair call that you've made as well. Reedy is shaking things up on the podcast now with that sort of that idea seed, food for thought for Ollie there. He's planted a seed, and Ollie's, he's managing to think that's going to be his pick for this week. But Guru, in terms of your captain for this week, you've got probably a couple, which we'll talk about in your Guru section. But in terms of the captain that you think you're going to go with for your team, who do you think it is?
It's not going to be a Watford player for me. I've seen enough of him this season, and just not sort of a side I want to captain a player from. So it's going to be Jota, I think, for me. Brilliant against Arsenal. Liverpool score a lot of goals at Palace. Notoriously score a lot there. I've got a good feeling about Jota this week, so it's probably going to be him. I did think about Bruno again, but probably Jota. And in terms of Watford players, really, I've got Josh King. So hopefully he does something, but they're just a team that for me, I want them down. I've not rated them any time sort of watching this season. I thought they were average against Newcastle last week. But there is one player that does interest me, but I'll wait till the Guru section to mention him. And it's not King and it's not Dennis.
Ooh, we're all waiting for that Guru section now. But just before we get there, Guru, we do have one question, which I'm going to go to you for. Rafinha or Harrison for the upcoming weeks?
It's got to be Rafinha. I think Harrison's obviously just come off a hat trick. He's a quality player as well. Was really good in FPL last season, but I think if you're talking about a player over a number of weeks, it's got to be Rafinha. On pens at the moment, that might change when Bamford comes back. I think he is close to coming back. He's on corners. He's on set pieces. He runs a show for Leeds. So over 3 or 4 game weeks, you'll probably get more points out of Rafinha than Harrison for me. I think Rafinha's a great shout and a potential captain option this week as well.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with you. The one thing that I would say there, though, last season, Newcastle Leeds at Ellen Road, Jack Harrison, it was the Jack Harrison show that day as well. He absolutely tore us to pieces, scored an absolute cracker. He scored 2 absolute crackers, to be honest. So that's probably one that I would consider as well. But as the Guru's saying, long term, Rafinha is definitely the one to go with, I think, as well. More bang for your buck. Rafinha's doing it consistently this season. Harrison's pretty much had, one good game week all season, whereas Rafinha consistently done it against the big teams, the little teams. We know what he can do. As Guru says, he's on penalties, takes set pieces, so it's a no-brainer for me as well. I would be going with Rafinha over Jack Harrison. We've got a couple more questions just before the Guru section. Reedy, I'm going to go to you for this one because it's pretty much what you were tossing up between Captain Dennis or Cancelo. So can you give Quentin a quick answer for us, please?
Of course, I'll give Quentin an answer. And listen, before I do, I want to just give him a shout out and say that man is absolutely creamed it with his free hit. He hasn't got blue balls like Traore. He's basically 113 on his free hit. He's done absolutely amazing, that lad, in our free league, and it's just a shame he's not in the paid league. So he's absolutely smashed it. I think he got the Bruno pick, captain pick, like the Guru there. So brilliant. But just to go on to his question, Dennis or Cancelo, that Dennis, sort of double game week does jump out a lot. I know Watford are a little bit missed, hit and miss this season and stuff like that. But I think when Dennis does play central, he is a lot better than what he is on the right. That we've seen him the last few games he's played out on the right. It hasn't really kind of worked as such. So I would definitely go for Dennis just over Cancelo, just because I don't know. I think Southampton can potentially score, and I don't want that to happen because I've got Cancelo, but just Dennis, I think.
Yeah, and I think it's probably the choice that I would go with between the two. It's a two-part question, though, and I'll go to you again, Reedy. Is Watkins a good differential pick for this week?
I think so. They're playing an Everton side who have just lost the manager. He's a good player, Watkins, and I think that if he gets the service, he can score goals. He definitely can. And Villa have got a good fixture run coming up themselves as well. They're more than likely at some point going to get a double. So he's definitely someone to look to kind of bring in. Anyone who's got Ronaldo like myself, you're looking at someone like Watkins to potentially bring in. So he's definitely a good pick moving forward.
Yeah, I would agree with you as well. Ollie, we've got another question just coming through now from Wing L, and he asks, he's got King, who should he captain, Foden or Josh King?
I suppose you don't captain everyone on a double game week, but I think this is one we probably lean towards it. Manchester City do have a very good fixture. In fact, I was gonna say Captain King, but because I want Dennis to do well, and I think Dennis is the superior option, I'm actually gonna say Phil Foden over Josh King. Reason being, I feel like it's a game that might be made for Phil Foden. He's good away from home, where he's had big holes away from home. I think was it Brighton early in the season, Guru, that he was unbelievable away from home. So on the South Coast for Man City, if he plays, and that's the risk. Obviously, they've got a lot of players that can play in those positions. Mahrez might be back, which might be something that could tempt you away from it. But if Foden plays the 90 minutes, I think he might outscore Josh King this week.
I think that's a very fair call from you as well. Obviously, all the eyes are on AFCON at the minute. I don't think people have, been so invested in AFCON for years with all these FPL players away and all that sort of stuff. But I don't think Algeria are doing that well at the minute. So I think Mahrez will be on the plane back to Manchester at some point this season. Last question, just before we go to the Guru section, though. And Guru, it's going to go to you because you are the resident Spurs fan. Should I keep Reguilon? I already have Cancelo and Trent. If I sell him, who would be the better replacement?
I'd keep him, and that's just based on the amount of games in hand Spurs have got. So there's going to be a number of doubles. There was one, I believe, game week 26 has been announced of Spurs will have Brighton. That game week is a double. We've got Burnley in a double game week. We've got Arsenal at home in a double game week. And Reguilon, obviously, we did concede a couple of goals in the week, but he was in attacking positions for the whole game. I'd stick with him. Maybe might not want to play him in this game against Chelsea, but with all the games in hand, you want to keep your double game week players right now, unless you're wildcarding. Otherwise, I'd keep him.
I lied. It's one more question just before the Guru section from Quentin after that brilliant answer there from the Guru, and I would agree, keep Reguilon. For my thoughts on Trippier so far, he's been brilliant in the two games that he has played for us, one of which was that 1-0 loss to Cambridge, which sounds a bit silly, but for both games that he has played, he's been the standout player. He was my man of the match against Watford. He kept Dennis quiet the whole game. For when he was on that left-hand side, and nothing really got through him. He was passing, cutting the passing lanes from Watford, albeit it was Watford, but, you can only play what's in front of you, and Newcastle are in no position to be like, oh, it's only Watford, because Kieran Trippier is playing for Newcastle now. So, Trippier was brilliant. I think he's probably one to watch. Not really with the fixtures that we've got at the minute. I would say I would probably wait until, see if Chris Wood's getting a little bit of form, wait until Callum Wilson's back maybe, and he'll be getting a little bit more attacking support from himself. But I don't think we're going to keep many clean sheets. So the thing is with Trippier is that you're relying that he gets an attacking return. So if we start scoring bundles from set pieces, then I would say go for it. But unfortunately, our defence is just too rubbish to keep any sort of clean sheets. So I would love to see Chris Wood goal, Trippier assist on the weekend against Leeds. I would love Chris Wood to score a hat-trick against his former club. And I'd love to see Kieran Trippier in and among the attacking returns as well. But for the minute, I would probably say hold off bringing him into your team. But as a football perspective, he's definitely upgraded the defence that little bit that we really need to have some sort of fighting chance for this season. But we will move on to the Guru section now. We've finally made it 54 minutes into the podcast. But Guru, this is your time to shine. You've got your differentials, your three teams to back, and your captain picks, and your curveball captain as well. So we'll go with your three players for this week. Who have you gone with?
Nice one, Elliot. I've gone with Jack Harrison this week for Leeds. We've mentioned him on the pod a couple of times now. 1.7% owned. Newcastle at home. You already mentioned it. Got a couple of goals in that fixture last year. Next one is going to be Sterling against Southampton. 3.8% owned, which I think is really, really low for this game. I think he's a really exciting one for this week. Was very dangerous against Chelsea in the game last week. And my last one is going to be a double game week player. It's going to be João Pedro, 0.4%. I thought he was brilliant against Newcastle last week. Scored the goal, was the biggest threat for me in that Watford front three. And every time I've seen him play for Watford, he's impressed me. So that's my three players.
Yeah, he did very well for himself in the Championship as well last season. So João Pedro is definitely one to sort of have on our radars. I would agree with you. Who are your three teams to back for this this double game week then, Guru?
I'm gonna back Arsenal. Against Burnley. I haven't been too impressed with Arsenal in the cup last night, or even in a couple of their recent games. I think they've kind of gone off form a bit, but I'm not really that impressed with Burnley either. Arsenal seem to scrap a lot of these home games, so I'll go with Arsenal. I think from an FPL point of view, there'll be a few clean sheets. I'll back Liverpool away at Palace. Liverpool don't lose many games. They do well at Selhurst Park, so I'll back Liverpool. And then, I'll put Watford in there just because there's two matches, so it gives them two opportunities to try and get 3 points. But I've not been too impressed with Watford this season, but I'll put them in.
They get 2 bites at the cherry to beat or perform against 2 relegation teams for this season. So I think it's probably the pick that you have to make there, because obviously, as you say, they get 2 opportunities, and if they squander both of them, then it's not looking brilliant for Watford. But you'd expect from at least one of those games they're going to come out on top. But I think Norwich might cause them a few troubles, but I think they probably will manage to beat Burnley. But only time will tell for us. In terms of your captain picks for this week, Guru, who have you gone with?
Captains I'm liking, I'll put Dennis on there. We've all spoke about him. 2 good fixtures. He's had good form this season. So Dennis, I'm going to put Rafinha against Newcastle. Rafinha was phenomenal against West Ham last week, as well. Obviously, Jack Harrison was too, but Rafinha, hit the woodwork, was on every set piece. I think he's a really good shout. And then Trent and Jota, I'll put them both kind of in the same bracket for Liverpool. I think they're both very good options as well.
Yeah, I would love to see a Jota goal, Trent assist. That would absolutely make my FPL week in terms of that Liverpool game. But in terms of your curveball captain, Guru, you've spoken about him a lot in this Guru section. Who have you gone with?
It's got to be João Pedro, I think, for the curveball. Potentially 2 games. He looked good last week. He scored obviously that header. Had quite a lot of shots on goal as well. He was lively, so I think I'll put João Pedro as the curveball, the ultimate curveball.
Yeah, and I think that's the end of a very astute Guru section. He's not messing around. He's giving you the best advice that you can get on all of the social media, all of the internet. The Guru is the man, so you've got to be listening to the words that this man is saying. So we thank you very much for your time and the insight there, Guru. That does bring us to the end of today's podcast. Ollie, I'll give you the final word. Any last thoughts before game week 23, mate? You've got to be unmuted to say them, though.
I thought I was unmuted. Sorry, mate. I just wanted to bring light to something that Dan posted at the FPL Way, who has just joined us, friend of the podcast. He posted up a brilliant captain's thread that he sent through to me not such a while ago. Sorry, that he just went through all the captains. He does it every game week, does Dan? He does a brilliant job, and he's mentioned the likes of Watkins, Rafinha's in there. That might be with the provision that Villa and Leeds might have had a double game week. In fact, it was when you read through. But he's also mentioned the likes of Kevin De Bruyne, and I thought maybe to get the Guru's opinion on that, Trent, Cancelo are all also mentioned. If you haven't seen that thread, go over and check that out. I would recommend it. He's a top guy. Is Dan, friend of the podcast, of course. And I wonder what you think, Guru, with those options that he's mentioned there. I put a few of them in the chat there as well that you could read off. But what do you reckon?
Yeah, De Bruyne is obviously a standout, premium option. Look, me personally, I had him a few weeks back for that Newcastle fixture. Problem I always find with Man City is they score a lot of goals, but they're just shared around too much for me. But it is a good fixture this week, Saints away. this Dennis news, I think, is probably going to sway a lot more people to wanting to pick him. I think, say with Liverpool, they're more reliant on Jota's goals right now without Salah and Mane. So I think Jota's probably a better option than a De Bruyne, but he's obviously still in with a mention. Bruno, he's obviously coming off the back of 2 really good game weeks. So yeah, great shout. Some great picks. I've got Watkins in my team, so I'd like him to fire as well. And the Coutinho one against Everton, obviously an ex-Liverpool player, it could be a good shout as well. And I'm really liking the Rafinha pick as well. I love Rafinha. So yeah, some really good shouts.
That is the Guru's thoughts, the final word on the podcast today. I thank you all for tuning in and watching wherever you are, whatever time of the world it is. Thank you all for joining and for sharing your insight in the chat and asking the questions that you all do. I hope all your FPL dreams come true for Game Week 23. Hopefully it brings you all the green arrows that you could ever want. And I'll leave you here. Take care. Stay safe. Bye for now.